I'm Lorrin Cash. I'm here at Read Up Chicago magazine with the beautiful Brittany Wright. She's an account executive. Can you give us a little bit more details about who you are and what you do?
For sure. So my name is Brittany Wright. As she said, I'm currently an account executive at Walton Isaacson. Walton Isaacson is a advertising agency. Specifically, I do experiential events for McDonald's 365 Black, but that's just my 9 to 5. In the 5 to 9, I'm a freelance publicist. I'm a blogger, a podcaster, a brand strategist, and a public speaker.
Okay, so how did you come into working with your 9 to 5? Let's start there with your experience there.
Okay, for sure. So specifically, let me back all the way up.
Yeah.
I ended up taking an internship at this program called the Marcus Graham Project, and it's an organization that seeks to implement diversity in the fields of like communications, marketing, advertising, PR, etc. And so with that, we formed our own fully functioning advertising agency. There are about 13 students that they selected, and these were students that went to my alma mater, Columbia College, Chicago.
Awesome.
And so we ended up forming this fully functioning advertising agency, and then from that agency, we got an actual client, and our actual client was McDonald's. So that was the first time McDonald's popped into my world. And then so stemming from that, we had the opportunity to go to the different agencies in the city of Chicago that worked on pieces of the McDonald's business. So one of those agencies was Golan, and Golan is a public relations agency. Now girl, when I got there, I was like, oh my God, like I literally have to be there. I walked through the floor map, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be my seat when I get here. Like, I was just so excited. So I'm like, who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to shake hands with to get into this building? So I kind of networked while I was there and kind of took some contacts. They let me know when the internship application opened up. I applied, interviewed, got it, and then I also got hired on full time.
Wow.
Now this is, I want to say September 2015 is when I got hired on full time. So when I got hired on full time, I was working on the Walmart business, and then January 2016, they put me on the McDonald's business. So that was the second time that McDonald's kind of rolled into my world, and then the third time, of course, is when I started working here at Walton Isaacson as an account executive.
Okay, now of course I've been looking through all your social media and your websites. You just graduated. Can you tell us where you graduated from again, and a little bit of information about what you graduated with?
For sure. So I graduated, I guess I'll back out a little bit more again. So I graduated in spring of 2015 from Columbia College, Chicago. My bachelor's is in public relations. And so I kind of was at a pivotal point when I was graduating. I'm like, okay, do I want to just jump straight into the workforce, or do I want to jump into getting this additional degree? And for me, of course, as an African-American woman, as Black, brown people, like we have to do twice as much to be looked at as just as good, of course. So I decided I wanted to get my master's at the same time, but I didn't also want to lose any ground in the industry. So I'm like, let me just do both of these at the same time. I know it's going to be very difficult, but I decided to do them together. So I just graduated in December from Roosevelt University, and my Master of Science is in Integrated Marketing Communications.
Wow, that sounds like a bunch of studying.
Girl.
A lot of
Listen, like, I have to be very transparent. I would do a weekly cry. I'm like, on schedule. All right, let me get this shit out. All right, I feel good. Okay, I can go about my week. Like, it was one of those things. It was like, okay, let me refresh. I'm good. Okay, I can keep going. And I would always, like, my mantra was just like, this is a temporary setback for a permanent setup. Yes, so I wasn't looking for the now. I was looking towards the future, because it's like, after this year and a half of my life is done, I'll never look back on it and be like, oh, I'm so sad about that time. Like, you got your degree and you're moving on with your life. So.
Exactly. If we just focus on the future and not what's overwhelming us right now, we would probably already be ahead.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. So, we know what you're doing with your 9 to 5. I want to talk about what you're doing with your entrepreneurship with your 5 to 9.
Okay.
So, give us a little detail about that. I believe you're writing in a blog. Tell me about this BeBad.com.
Yes. So BeBad PR is my absolute baby. It was my brainchild. So I went to Central Michigan University for about 2 years. So I'm originally from Michigan. I'm not from the Chicago area. So I went to Central Michigan University for about 2 years, and I kind of just felt like it wasn't the space for me to start my career or to take my career on at the track that I wanted to go with it. I felt like I needed an accelerated track in order to get me there, and then kind of looking around, because it was in a very small town in Michigan, and it was just like, girl, there's no agencies here. Like, there's no way for me.
Networking.
Girl, like, I'm like, there's no way for me to be able to take my career to the next level. So I literally, like, I woke up one day and I was like, I'm moving to Chicago. Like, it was just that quick. And like, I drove home that night. I printed out some paperwork. I convinced my parents. I'm like, y'all, I need to move to Chicago because it's gonna take my career to the next level, right? So they were just really like nervous, like, oh my God. So anyway. I finally moved to Chicago, and within the first week of me coming here, I had signed 2 clients on retainer. So I had like 2 freelance clients, and then I had signed like the lease to my very first apartment. I also ended up getting an internship, so that was kind of like the confirmation that I needed to know that I was in the right space doing the right thing. But to throw Be Bad PR into the mix, prior to moving to Chicago, I felt like I wanted to be competitive in the market. I felt like when I looked at Chicago, I saw plenty of people just grinding it on their shit, and I'm like, I can't step into this space and not equally be on my shit and own that space. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, okay, so what do I need to do? So I decided to brand myself. So that's where Be Bad PR comes into play. So B stands for me, and then Bad stands for bold and distinct in a society where bad is the new good. So that's kind of like my slogan and catchphrase, if you will. But that's what Be Bad PR stands for. In the summer, I ended up moving to Chicago. That's when I launched my website. And then from me launching my website, people were like, okay, well, I wonder if she freelances. And so people would start asking me about business. I'm like, well, I guess I can freelance. So that's when I started freelancing. But Be Bad PR has been my baby since about the summer of, I want to say, 2013. So yeah, I've been working with it since then. And I recently relaunched it in the spirit of being dynamic. So I feel like when I watched Issa Rae's Insecure, that was the first time that I saw Black women who looked like me kind of holistically. So I feel like every time when you're in media, they try to categorize Black women into these different boxes. So whether you're on Love and Hip Hop and you're like, oh, this girl is vixen, or this girl is simply professional, or this girl is simply this, like in the spirit of being dynamic, we can be all of those things and we don't have to fall into any one of those boxes. So specifically for me, I decided to relaunch my blog in the spirit of that. So I kind of came up with this formula, and it's intellect plus goon plus professionalism plus glam equals Be Bad PR. And I feel like those are each of the different facets of me, right? It's literally
that is
literally the recipe. So stemming from that, I've kind of started to develop content underneath each of those different columns, each of those different verticals, because I feel like I know that my purpose in life is to help people. And if I'm only helping you from a professional perspective, I'm not giving you all that I can in order to help you take yourself to the next level. So that's what Be Bad PR is right now.
Okay. So that kind of opened the door for you for a lot of other opportunities.
Absolutely.
I like that. So to you, what does it mean for you to live and become your unapologetic true self?
Oh, girl.
What does that actually mean to you? Like,
I think for me, it's really about being transparent, right? I feel like a lot of the times. So let me back out just a little bit, and that's my phrase. If you ain't caught it by now, back up. Let me tell a bigger picture. Let me give you the full story. So for the sake of being transparent, I feel like we're in this culture right now where it's like very stunt driven, and like people are trying to look like and appear and give the air of them being someone that they're actually not. So for me, I just want to really live my unapologetic truth by being honest, by being transparent, by living my life out loud. There was a space in my life where I felt like if I celebrated myself on Facebook or on my social media platforms, and people would be like, oh, she thinks she this or she thinks she that. And I feel like I really had to kind of break down those walls in my own mind. It's like, are these people really thinking this, or are you worried about what they're going to think? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like stemming from that, I decided to start living my truth out loud and on my social media platforms and showing people what I'm doing. And there's literally not a week that goes by without someone jumping into my inbox like, thank you for basically living your life out loud, because I needed to see that. And for me, coming from a very small town with a lot of brown women who don't have a lot of opportunities, I want to show them that you can go somewhere else and thrive and be successful, or you can pick this career that no one really knows about. And you can thrive and you can be happy in it. I feel like a lot of the times in the African American community, if you're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer, you're not dribbling a ball, you're not throwing one, then people don't think that you're successful, or that's not what the height of success looks like to them.
Right.
So for me to show them like, okay, I'm doing this 9-to-5 job, but I also have this 5 to 9, and I'm thriving in both of these things. I feel like that's kind of giving people the inspiration, the energy that they need to take themselves to the next level.
And that's funny because I just made a status the other day. I was like, if you choose to make your job, your 9-to-5 job, a priority, does that mean that you're not serious about entrepreneurship.
I saw that.
Because a lot of times, you know, people come off like you have to choose. And I'm just like, you know, I got kids, I got bills. Mm-hmm. How's the kids gonna get paid? You know, supported, the bills gotta get paid. How's that gonna happen? You know, if your 5 to 9 is not necessarily bringing in income right away. So for you, how do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like you need to choose at some point? Like, how do you balance it is what I'm looking for. Because sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I can't balance it. I get overwhelmed. I have my crying sessions.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
But I get through it, and because it's all about the future, and I want to establish something for my daughters, you know, to grow up to and say, you know, mommy's doing this, mommy did that. So how do you balance it?
So I guess I'll start that by saying a lot of people always want to pick my brain and ask me what my end game is. My end game is freedom. I want to be free.
Yes.
And what freedom looks like to me is to be able to just do whatever I want to do. I don't want to have to wake up and report to someone. I don't want to have to check in. I don't want anybody else cutting my checks for myself.
Exactly.
So for me, in order to get to that freedom, I know that I need to work especially hard on Be Bad PR, because at the end of the day, I know that that's my true bread and butter, even though right now it's not bringing in the bulk of my income.
Right.
So for me, kind of finding that fine line is trying to understand that balance and finding the time to be able to do both. People always ask me, like, girl, how do you do everything? Like, how do you do both? And I'm just like, for me, it's just trying to have that mindset that Be Bad PR is gonna be that deal when I need to be that deal. So I need to be working towards that right now in order to help it out. But then also, I can't neglect the fact that my 9 to 5 is what's paying my bills and what's also giving me the seed money to take Be Bad PR to the next level. So I guess I would just have to say, just understanding like that timing, being very organized, being intentional about your day too. So one thing that I created, so you know how people do like vision boards and they cut like the magazines out and all that stuff. I think that's great, but I feel like it's not very actionable. So what I decided to do at the end of 2016 was to create an action plan, or like a goal plan. So I kind of wrote down each of my different goals, or like each of my different pockets of goals that I wanted to do. And then stemming from that, I kind of wrote down what steps I needed to take in order to get there. So every day when I wake up, like I look at this list of things and I'm like, okay, I have a pocket of time. What can I do to knock something off of that list to get to the next level? And I also put like my content on that sheet too. So from a content perspective, one of the things I've been trying to do on my blog is to have like a content series each month. So this month, the series that I'm focusing on is Out of the Box, which is talking about how we shouldn't let like societal norms cloud what we think we should be doing. So thinking outside of the box and living your life outside of the box. So kind of stemming from that, like I said, finding those different ways to be able to have that content in those different buckets, but then also going back to that goal and that vision plan. Like I said, I have my content there, and then I have all of my different goals there. Like that document started off as like, I want to say maybe a 5-page document. Is literally sitting in like a 30-page document right now, because I put literally everything in there, and I feel like that's the one document that keeps me honest, because like I said, I have my content calendar in there and everything. So whenever I look at it, I'm like, okay, well girl, you can be writing this blog post, or one of my goals for 2017 is to steepen my pot, or deepen my hand in freelance writing. So I have like a couple of different blogs and publications that I want to get like entry into and have, you know, some different pieces.
So how are you going to go about doing that?
I feel like the very first step for that for me is to deepen and make the content on my blog, my personal blog, consistent. And to make sure that every piece of content that I'm putting out is like a quality piece of content. So that's one of the main things that I've been focusing on right now, because it's like when it gets to a point where I want to share my portfolio of work with you, I want you to be able to, I want to just give you the link to my blog, and for you to run your finger and like click on anything, and it's literally like quality fire bomb content. So that's kind of layer one of that for me. Secondly, I kind of listed out what publications I wanted to be in. So whether that be like a For Harriet or a Blavity or Ebony or Essence or whatever that looks like, and kind of reading and understanding what each of those publications kind of stands for, and what type of content usually lives on those on those publications. So for me specifically for a Blavity, I would try to take a social issue that just came up and speak about it from like a social commentary perspective, or add my intellectual spin to it, just kind of matching the type of content that's already produced on those blogs. And then the other thing from there is I kind of started to ideate around what headlines I would want. So like what types of topics I would want to write for those particular publications. So that's kind of where I'm at with that right now.
So how do you brainstorm and come up with the perfect, you know, content layout? Like, cause I had started off like, I'm gonna read this one, cause I was at work, so I was multitasking. And you know, I got caught up. I started clicking on more and more links and reading them. I love your layout and content.
Thank you so much.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
How do you plan your content? Exactly. Like,
so kind of stemming back to what I said about having like a different category each month, I feel like that was one of the things that really helped me is making sure that I have those different themes of content and making sure they make sense. So from a holistic perspective, it's like, if this month I'm going to be talking about stepping out of the box, I want you to know what types of content you can expect from me in the month of May. And so I think that kind of helped. And then when I think about what that overarching theme for that content is going to be on a monthly basis, then I start to write out from there what types of content do I want to curate. So how many videos am I going to do? How many blog posts am I going to do? Am I going to do like a photo series, or what types of topics do I want to talk about within this overarching theme? Because what I don't want to do is create like this overarching monthly theme that only makes sense for 3 posts. And it's like, okay, now you're limiting yourself to only 3 pieces of content for this month. What's something that ties naturally to what's happening during that time period? And also, how can you speak to it and raise up the community that you're trying to speak to?
Okay, I like that. I'm gonna have to use that a little bit for myself. Okay, so if you had to write like a manual with these key steps or points for entrepreneur who's like, you know, just starting out, or a fresh graduate, or somebody that's just getting in there in the game, what would be your key points for getting out there and making your brand stand out, networking?
Oh yeah, I was waiting on this question.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think is that brands that are not based in purpose, you can tell that they're not based in purpose.
Okay.
So for me, I understand that my purpose on this earth, I was placed on this earth to help people. So everything that I do stems from that space of wanting to help people. So on my blog, I try to help Black women in particular. No, you know, like Black men too, of course. And there's, of course, no offense to anyone else who comes to my blog, but my content is specifically curated for African American women. And so, of course, there are professional pieces that I put on my blog, but then also, like, I do have some glam stuff, and then also some think pieces that can help us kind of, you know, just help different spaces that we are in our life. Like one blog post that I recently wrote was about opening the box and talking about healing by way of opening up. So having those conversations with your girlfriends. I know that a lot of times in the Black community that we feel embarrassed or we feel uncomfortable to tell our truth, even to our girlfriends that we talk to about everything else.
Because everybody's judging.
Exactly. But then on top of that, it's like, I don't know, like that judgment, that really bothers me. But on the other end of the spectrum, it's just like, we're all going through the same things. We've all gone through the same things. Like I went out to dinner with my girlfriends the other day, and we were all talking about like bogus guys who just did us wrong. And it was, I don't know, like I just felt so good because I'm like, oh wow, like I'm being transparent and they're being transparent. It's not just me. Ain't nothing wrong with me. No, I'm kidding. But you know, like just to hear their truth, it was like humanizing and healing for me. I feel like a lot of the times as Black women, we place ourselves on this very, very high pedestal, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. I just think that sometimes the higher that pedestal gets, we forget that we are human. And we need to humanize ourselves. And I feel like ways of us being able to humanize ourselves is to see another Black woman sitting across from us having the same issues that we're going through. So then that shows us that this is not a specialized issue to us, and that we can, of course, go ahead and, you know, live our truths and speak our truths that way.
Okay, so what advice would you give one that's looking to keep that discipline and make their vision come to life?
Let me go back to the first question really quickly because I feel like I didn't fully answer your question. No, yeah. So going back to purpose, I just feel like if your brand is not necessarily rooted in purpose, then it just becomes apparent. And I feel like it's very easy for you to fall off and to not be consistent, or for you to try to jump on whatever that newest trend is in order to make yourself trendy. Right. But when your brand is rooted in truth and rooted in that purpose, it doesn't have to be trendy because it's true to you, if that makes sense. So start to think about what's your place on this earth for? What is the purpose of this brand that you're looking to birth? What audience are you looking to serve with it? Who are you trying to help with it? Who are you trying to reach? And then I feel like from there, of course, you can start to loop in those other different elements, like what does it physically look like, and how does this look match what I'm trying to deliver? And does this look match the audience that I'm trying to deliver it to? So once you kind of break some of those different things down, I feel like you'll definitely be able to create a brand that has created its own space that it's owning in the industry.
Okay. That would be a nice manual to follow. Okay, so like I was saying, after all your hard work with graduating and building your brand, what has this done for you in the community? Like, what doors has it really opened? Because me, myself, personally, I battled with the idea of going back to school and completing. And a lot of entrepreneurs are like, you know, they don't want to go back. They don't want to go to school. They just want to go straight to just hit the ground hustling. What is your take on that? I mean, from just an original point of view, not as someone who graduated, but is it really, truly, you know, something that makes a difference in your ability to network and get around and meet people? And
absolutely. I think for me, it adds authenticity to my brand. And I think that it also, when people come to me, that they know that they're getting someone who is a professional. I feel like a lot of the times we have entrepreneurs who have entered the space who are ready to hit the ground running, but you don't know enough to hit that ground the way that you need to hit that ground. And a lot of the times it's like, okay, you're this entrepreneur, you have this product that you're able to give to someone. You didn't go to school for it. You haven't necessarily been in the industry for forever. So what value are you offering to the people that you're trying to sell your brand into, or that you're trying to sell your product to? And I feel like for me, I was able to deepen that by being in the industry for a few years, by having 2 different degrees under my belt, and by being, you know, in the community and being in the industry and kind of networking with different people. So for me, it's like, I just really wanted to make sure that whatever product that I'm delivering to you, I'm comfortable with standing behind it and putting my name on it. And I feel like a lot of the times, of course, you know, it's trendy to be an entrepreneur right now. It's trendy to be someone who is being their own boss, or who is working towards being their own boss. And I feel like what separates the people who are kind of looking to be that, and the people who are actually doing that, is that level of experience that you bring to the table. So I would say, you know, that my degrees and having that under my belt and, you know, networking and stuff has definitely helped me.
Okay. So when you do go out to network, what are some of the conversations that, you know, you spark in order to relate with the individual, or even open the door to exchange information?
For starters, I'm awkward. So I'm like stupid awkward. Like I just get uncomfortable when it comes down to like networking spaces. I'm getting good on that. One of the things I told myself that I was working on for 2016, and this was last year, was being uncomfortable in unfamiliar situations. Because even like this, or when I'm around my friends, I'm like very bubbly, very outgoing, and people would not know that I'm like a low-key introvert. So it's like, when I have to go into those different spaces, it's like, just bring that same level of energy and just personability when you're going out. I feel like a lot of the times, especially for us as Black women, like we have a serious case of resting bitch face. And so it's like, for us, we want to make sure that, and I hate the term approachable because approachable sounds shitty, but at the same time, we just want to make sure that, you know, like, you have this bubbly personality going on. And then of course, if you have a particular objective of the networking event, let's say you're going to a career fair, make sure at this career fair you understand who all is going to be there, who all you're interested in speaking with, and what you want to talk to them about. I feel like for me, that definitely helped me in the past. Of course, like I said, because I'm a low-key introvert, so it just gets awkward when you're trying to like spark a conversation on site. So I think that definitely helps. But then also, at the end of the day, we're all people. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like,
true.
when you go to these different industry events and stuff like that, like, nobody's a celebrity, and even celebrities are real people. So it's not like you have to approach them in a different way. You can simply approach them like, hey, how are you? Like, what's going on? I'm doing this. Oh, I heard that you did this, or you're doing this, and I'm doing this too. And let's, you know, like, just try to find some common ground. I feel like that's one of the easiest things, is just to find common ground. Like, even if you walk to somebody and they got a super cute blazer on, like, oh my God, girl, I had this guy tell you that this blazer is super cute. Okay, so what do? You know, like, try to find an interest point to that conversation, to where you're kind of laying that land and making that person feel comfortable, but then also that you're being very personable too at the same time.
Right. So you have your own blog. You're writing for other publications. How exactly did you get started with creating your own blog? Did you try to do it yourself, or did you reach out? What tools are you using?
So I'm self-made. I always say that.
Yeah.
I just kind of feel like I'm a one-woman shop. So I don't know. I'm just a huge investor into myself. So everything that I do, I want to make sure that I'm kind of, doing it myself, because to be completely honest and very transparent, I don't have a bunch of coin and a bunch of bands to be throwing into somebody else's pocket in order to take my brand to the next level. So I literally have like studio equipment at home. Like, I have like a light ring, I have a camera, I have like a backdrop with like the little stand and everything. So I literally do everything myself. But from a blogging perspective, both my blog and my website are created through Wix. And I know that people talk cash stuff about Wix, but I mean, Wix is very easy for me to be able to use. And then also I can add blog posts on my phone through their mobile app. So it's just very easy to navigate, and it's easy to run, and I found it to be very easy for my blog.
So Wix. Okay, what kind of cameras and things, like for someone starting out, like you said, that does not have the coins, what type of
so I have
equipment?
a TI Canon 89, and I also have like the what am I trying to say? Like the glam girl light ring. So it's literally like the circle light ring, and then you can attach your camera to the middle of that, and then literally like a studio backdrop like that. Like I have like pink paper, of course, because pink is like my most prominent branding color. So I have that, and then of course the stand for that to go on, and then of course like I've created some different spaces in my home that serve as like backdrops too. So I have like a desk area, and I do like my professional content. Like when I do video content, I do record my professional content in front of that particular space. I have like a bookshelf kind of set up, in my home, and so I do like my intellectual videos in front of that, and then I have like my vanity mirror, and I do like my glam videos.
I was gonna say, you do beautiful blogging too, don't you?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm really trying to deepen my hands in. Back in 2011, when I first started college, I started a YouTube channel, and it was called BB Glamour. And so BB was me, of course, and then Glamour was like glam and more. And so I kind of beat myself up about it, because I'm like, girl, you could have been one of these big beauty bloggers by now if you would have stuck with it. But I feel like Be Bad PR would have never been birthed if I hadn't had done that first. So I'm trying not to kick myself about it, but glam is definitely one of the parts of my blog that I want to steep in.
So will you be attending any particular events or conferences this summer? Or the makeup show? Will you be trying to get into that?
So I'm going to Empower Her conference this summer. Super excited about it. Morgan DeBond, who is the founder of Blavity, has put together this conference, and this is like only the second year that they've done it. Last year they did it in New York, and then this year they're doing it in Chicago. And basically it's just like a huge ass woman empowerment conference. So like your favorite girls, I think Lovey's gonna be there. Like, just your favorite like women empowerment girls are gonna be there. I think Black Girls in Om, which is Chicago based, was in there last year. So just talking about everything from like self-care to how to be an entrepreneur, so on and so forth. And I think I remember reading one particular article about it, and they were talking about this conference is to take care of the woman and not necessarily take care of the work. So I think it's really steeped in self-care, and that's a topic that's been very prevalent for me over the past year. So I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, because that's leading to my next question. We're working so hard. We get our 9 to 5, our 5 to 9. How do you find the time to take care of yourself? I mean, nails, massages, sleep.
What's sleep? What's that?
Right.
What's that last word you said?
How do you find the time to?
So I feel like I'm in a space where I create the time for that. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the time before, especially when I was in grad school, it was literally like I went to work, I, stayed at work for a little long, and I also had my classes like 3 nights a week physically on site, so I didn't have any online classes. So I would literally leave work, go straight to school, come home from school. By the time I get home, it's maybe 9 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock, depending on the day. And then by the time I get home, I still have either work for school that I need to do, or I have work for work that I need to do. So I was kind of staying up super late, maybe until like 2 o'clock, taking a little cat nap, waking up at 6, getting some more work done, and then heading to work. So for me, in that particular time, it was just like you gotta do what you gotta do.
Right.
Because this work is gonna get done, and you're the only person that can do it. So you gotta do what you gotta do. So that was that. But now I'm kind of more so in a space where it's like, listen to your body. When your body needs rest, take that rest. So I've kind of been trying to sleep a lot more. And then for me too, I started my yoga journey in January 2017. So yoga has, when I tell you yoga literally changed my life, girl, yoga changed my life. Like it literally, so one of the things that we do as a part of our yoga practice is meditate. And I feel like that was one of the things that I took off of the mat and into my daily life. Like I burn sage all the time just for sport, but like burning that sage and matching that with that meditation, or burning that sage and matching that with your yoga practice, it's something about that for me that just gave me like clarity. Like anytime I'm done practicing yoga, like I just feel good. Like I literally just feel so good. There's a calm over my body and I just feel amazing. So I don't know, I feel like yoga is one of those things that's definitely helped me to think about my self-care practice and what that looks like.
Okay, cool. So I always hear dress the part. So to you, how would you describe your style in relation to, you know, your brand and everything?
I don't know. I think that I'm fashionable, but I don't know, kind of going back to that spirit of being dynamic, like there's no one particular look that you're going to see me bad in. Like I'm literally wrapped up right now, like half face
I definitely was
with the wrap, you know what I'm saying? So it's literally, thank you so much, but it's literally just like, I don't know, I just do what I like. For me, it's like, style is one of those things where it's like, if I wake up and I'm feeling a particular type of way today, then that's what, you know, how I'm going to dress or how I'm going to be. So for me, I don't know. I don't think I've found like that curated specific style that's exclusive to be bad yet.
Okay. So doing what you do with your 9 to 5, from your professional perspective, what brand that's like a major brand would you say needs a makeover?
Oh, baby.
That you would love.
Let me watch my words here because I don't get in trouble. But I mean, of course, we just saw this Shea Moisture catastrophe, right? So for me, that was just a little gut wrenching because this is a product that was birthed in blackness. It was birthed in black womanhood. It was created for us, and it was created with a recipe that was by us. So for me, for you all to try to expand your brand, I don't have an issue for that. But for you, in the root of expanding your brand, you neglect the very people who this brand was built on the backs of. I think they were very remiss for that. So I know that a lot of black women, including myself, have stopped using their products. I will be very transparent. I still got some products at home. I'm not gonna throw them away. But I will not be restocking any of those products. So I don't know, I just feel like they definitely need like a revamp and a makeover, and they really need to understand how to kind of expand their brand without neglecting any key components.
Or, you know, insulting
the
main people that's coming and purchasing their stuff.
And I think too that a lot of brands need to understand that blackness is on a spectrum, right? So just because you threw in this light-skinned, loose curly hair girl does not mean that you can check your representation box for black women, because black women come in so many different shapes, sizes, flavors, etc. So it's like, where's my coarse, curly, kinky hair, brown skin girl? Like, where are y'all at in these, you know, in these different commercials? So I feel like they need to take a step back and understand what blackness looks like in different ways that they can represent that in their brand.
So, you know, like I have informed you before that our theme is claim it, own it, become it. And I really wanted to get your opinion on what that means to you and how you can relate to that.
For sure. So for me, I feel like that wraps into my my planning and my strategy process. So I always tell people that what I'm doing right now, I planned this years ago. Like, so specifically for my job when I was working and going to school full time, when I was in, I want to say maybe a junior or a sophomore, I was like, okay girl, so what are you looking like? What are your plans after college? Like, do you want to go to school or do you want to work in the industry? And like I said earlier, I didn't want to lose any ground, and of course I wanted to be twice as good, so I decided to do both of them at the same time. So for me, it's claim it, own it, become it, right? You kind of create that plan and think of that strategy and think about what that looks like. And I'm a very, very analytical person. So whenever I create something or ideate around it, I literally toss it around in my head every single way to see what it looks like from each direction. What does it look like left to right, right to left, up to down, down to up, inside out? Like, what does that look like? And then what does plan A through Z look like around that? So I'm very strategic and analytical when it comes down to that. So I feel like that planning process is that claiming. I feel like that own it is me stepping into my own. And this is something that we haven't touched into throughout this interview today, but I kind of had a really shitty fuckboy situation last year. And I feel like that kind of kicked me into this spirit of, like spiritual awakening and self-love and self-actualization. I'm like, girl, okay, you've kind of been in a few jams in the past couple years, so what's going on with you? Like, not saying that I'm putting the responsibility or putting the onus on myself, but what am I feeling? What am I going through in these times where I allowed for these boys, to come into my world? So I wanted to kind of, I don't know, so stemming from that, I kind of just really analyzed a lot of the different things about myself that I didn't like, that I wanted to improve, that I wanted to change. And so through that journey, I felt like that's where that own it came from, because I fell in love with myself throughout that process, and I've never loved myself more than I do in this moment right now. Like, literally inside out, outside in. Like, there's nothing nobody can tell me about myself that can shake my confidence or make me feel any type of way about my own self. So I feel like that's where, thank you. So I think that's where that kind of owning comes from. And then the become it, I think that kind of goes back, of course, to that strategy and actually fulfilling that prophecy that I had for myself. So
Okay, so to you, what does it mean to truly live what you love? Like, a lot of times we're always trying to satisfy our parents or the person we're in a relationship with or social media, our friends. How have you really came into just doing what you want to do without worrying about whether your parents approve of it? How have you done that?
So I have to be very honest and transparent here. I've never cared.
That's step one.
I don't have a formula. I don't have a strategy for it. Literally, my mom can tell you that Britt doesn't care what anybody thinks. She calls me Britt. Like, Britt don't care what nobody thinks. Like, even when it comes down to them, any outside opinion for me is a mere suggestion. And at the end of the day, I'm going to have the final say and I'm going to have the final weigh in on it. And it's like, I come from a first generation college background. So I'm a first generation college student, My parents didn't go to college, my grandparents, etc., so on and so forth. My sister's a doctor, and my other sister has an associate's degree, but like the three of us, like, we're the first people, in our family to go to college. Yeah, so for me, it's just like, I also have to take into account the stance of the person who's giving me the advice. Like, I had to have a conversation with my mom one day. I'm like, I understand that you want what's best for me, and I understand that given your position and that, you haven't been in the world that I'm in, that you may not understand what's best for me looks like. Right. Because you haven't been exposed to what I've been exposed to. So while I will take what you say into consideration, at the end of the day, I have to have the final say-so for me and what I'm doing in my life. So just kind of, like I said, just weighing out who's giving you that advice. If they've taken that advice themselves, I know that a lot of people will try to give you some advice and you're like, but sis,
stop smoking.
What are you doing with your life, sis? And not like, what are you doing with your life? Like, to shade or be shady, but it's like, if you're telling me, oh girl, you need to leave him and he did this and but you're sitting in a toxic relationship, I can't take that advice from you. And I have to be very fair about that and transparent. So that's kind of how I, filter it out. I use the mantra, take what you want and leave what you don't.
Okay, I like that. So, I was gonna ask you, but you just answered it. Are you the only child? Because you seem like you're really competitive, like, especially
I'm hella competitive.
You're like, I need to be double the time, twice as good.
Girl, I am so competitive, it's ridiculous. Like, I remember I had went, where was I at? I had went to like this little arcade. Like, me and my sorority sister had went with like two guys that we liked or whatever. And like, oh, the guys are trying to like play and they want to try to like, nah, I play. Like, everything.
They did not see it coming.
Skee-ball, and I'm on your head. Like, I'm literally, I'm super competitive, but I do have a ton of siblings though.
Okay, so that's why you're competitive. What type of relationship do you have with your siblings? Like, are they supportive of what you're doing?
Mad supportive.
Okay.
Like, my family is very, very tight knit. I think it really breaks my heart when I see people's families and they're like very disconnected. Because me, like, my family is everything to me, you know? Like, even though I'm very far away from my family and I'm like, oh, we got FaceTime, I don't need to see you all the time. But like, we check in with each other all the time. We're very supportive and like, I don't know, just knowing that you have that sibling or that support system there for you that is like, basically you can do no wrong. Like, my entire immediate family is like literally my biggest fans. Like, anytime I do anything, I'm like, oh my God, girl, you better go, girl, you killing it, girl. Like,
they was the last at graduation, wasn't they?
Cut up at graduation, like, what? And I was the first master in the family too, so they were literally like, oh my God. But no, yeah, it's, my support system is unmatched, and I'm very grateful and blessed. Cool.
So how do you find time for relationships? Are you currently dating, or
I'm dating myself.
You are. How is that working out?
It's
like,
a bad thing.
Just by choice, or is it just because of your past experiences where you're just like, you know, I'm okay. I don't need that right now.
I feel multiple ways about that. So for starters, I feel like a lot of the times as women, we've been taught to place a lot of our worth and value into the approval of a man. And so understanding that, I feel like if we combat that by loving ourselves and understanding who we are, then we can kind of forego a lot of those issues that we may see by trying to seek that approval of the men who are not interested in us and checking for us anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like for me, that's where a lot of that comes from, like being in a relationship with myself. But then also, if you don't know what you like, how can you demand what you like? So I literally take myself on dates, girl. Like, literally everything. I'm literally dating myself. And I'm like, until I find somebody who treats me like I treat me, I'm just going to chill on the couch.
So do you travel alone too? Do you do a lot of travel?
Yeah, I do a lot of travel. I do a ton of travel. Like, I'm trying to like start this new thing. So in the fall last year, I did like every weekend. Of course, I work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So I have like, you know, limited windows where I can travel.
Oh, I know.
So in the fall last year, I did like a 3-week back-to-back. So I have, my sister and her family lives in Atlanta, so I go to Atlanta all the time. So I ended up doing that one weekend. I went to New York to visit some of my friends the next weekend. And the last weekend, I ended up going home and taking my parents to the Bad Boy reunion concert, which is super cute. I was like, oh, that's so cute. But that was that. And then I'm trying to do one in the spring. So I went to Atlanta again. I just went home, and then I'm going to LA the first weekend in June. So I'm kind of trying to like do like a little 3-peat back-to-back kind of thing each time. But I feel like I do travel a lot, and then also for work I have to travel too. So one of the things that I'm working on specifically right now at work is Essence Festival. So for the past 12 years,
I want to go to that so bad.
It literally is. The craziest part about all of this is that I went to Essence Festival for the first time last year, and this year I'm like the co-lead / support for the entire Essence Festival activation for McDonald's. So which is super cool. So I'll be traveling to that, and then we have some stuff in the back half of the year, of course, that I'll be traveling to as well.
How do you budget? Because you know you gotta invest in yourself.
Honey, hit me in a month when I figure that out. No, literally, I don't know. I have to be very transparent. I am horrible when it comes down to my coins because I don't know. Girl, I get so 2017 with shit. I'm just like, I see it. I really want that. I know I don't need this shit. I know it really doesn't mean anything. It has no value, but I really want that. That looks cool.
So, friends, what's going on as far as that? Are you able to keep those relationships? Are they?
So last year in 2016, of course, with everything that I had going on, so school, the master's program, and then of course BBAT PR, it got a little rocky. It was a little difficult for me to kind of maintain those relationships. Of course, I didn't let anything fall completely off of the radar. But for me in 2017, one of my goals was to be, to kind of deepen those relationships. I'm always the person who's like, oh girl, we gotta link up, girl. You like, yeah, girl. And we never link up. So I've been trying to be a little bit more intentional about those relationships. So if I say, we gonna link up, girl, I'm really gonna put some time on your calendar, and we're gonna go out, and we're gonna do what we said we're gonna do. And then also from that, I try to just check in with people more too. Like I'm in a sorority, I'm AKA. I have 18 line sisters, and so I try to, you know, check in with them every now and then. Of course, 18 is a huge number of people to try to keep up with on a consistent basis. But I don't know, I just really try to, my word for it is just intentional, like being intentional about those relationships, not letting them fall off, but then also not beating myself up if I'm not taking my time to maintain those relationships, because in that space, of course, I need to be taking care of myself too.
Yeah, I found that although some friends may fall, off along the way, that is okay, because I've been finding myself coming into better relationships with people who are doing the same thing that I'm doing.
I love that.
And of the people that have fallen off, it was obviously meant to be. So, I feel like those people get replaced.
Absolutely.
And it's really interesting the people that you do come across in networking and the friendships even that you end up gaining just through networking. So I really enjoy everything that you're doing. I think it's great how into yourself you are, into your culture, because I see so many other cultures. I work in a medical field, so I'm around a lot of doctors, Indian, and I'm looking at their pictures of their wives and families and marriages. And I'm like, you just don't see our culture. Like, it's almost like it's lost. Like, what exactly is our culture? So I love the fact that you're really an advocate for that, and you're really into being a wonderful, successful Black woman. And that's exactly why I invited you for this interview today.
Thank you.
Was there any other tips that you can give someone that's, starting off that just needs that oomph, like that push, like do it, just do it, like go for it?
I guess I would just have to say, just really understand yourself. So going back to what I was saying earlier, just understand what that purpose is. Why have you been placed on this earth? And when you kind of understand that, you can ideate different ways that you can incorporate that into your brand. So like I've said 1,000 times throughout this interview, I know that my purpose on this earth is to be able to help people. So every extension of my brand is me being able to help people, or me kind of going back to finding the way that I can help people, whether it be through my voice, whether it be through my videos, my writing, some of the things that I do. So one of the things that I do too is like career development for people who are up and coming. So that's another way, of course, that I'm trying to help people. So you don't have to necessarily place yourself in a box, but you have to find a theme that can help you translate all of your different passions and your loves. So for me specifically, when I decided to break out my blog to the intellect, the goon, the professionalism, and the glam, that was my way of both matching what I love to do with what my purpose was. So I guess my charge to everyone out there watching is to find your purpose and make sure that whatever your brand or your product is, that it's rooted in purpose and truth, and then understanding who you're servicing with that truth or that purpose.
Okay, so what other services do you offer, and how can one reach out to you to work with you?
Absolutely. So, of course, I'm a publicist. So I'm a freelance publicist. I do public relations, anything from media relations, or understanding your strategy, or understanding your competition in the industry for entrepreneurs or people who have businesses, etc., so on and so forth. I'm also a brand strategist. So whether that be from a personal branding perspective, so the way that I have Be Bad PR, if you want to try to find a way to be able to incorporate your personal brand, and then also from a professional perspective, so whatever that professional branding elements look like, I can also help you with that. I'm also a freelance writer, of course. I'm a blogger. My blog is at www.bbadblog.com, and then you can find me at www.bbadpr.com, and then I'm at bbadpr at everything. So Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, so on and so forth.
So that's it. I really, like I said, I appreciate you coming out and taking your time out of your schedule, because I know you're busy.
Girl.
You could be asleep right now, you could be getting a massage, but I thank you for coming out and speaking with us and Read Up Chicago magazine. I'm all about entrepreneurship, supporting and, putting a spotlight on those young entrepreneurs and old entrepreneurs that are out there, that are hustling, they're trying to get their brand out there. And I just want to be able to continue to highlight them, also give them tips and things that can also help spread and grow their career as well as mine. So, I appreciate you, and I would like for everyone that's watching to tune in to us on YouTube. Also follow us on social media at RUCMag. On Facebook, you can follow us at www.facebook.com/RuckMag. Is there anything else that you want to say?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.